But when they're ready to, when they get Facebook, they're ready to watch this.
Yeah, they'll be old enough to understand that mom and dad getting it on. Mom and dad.
And they'll know why we're always taking vacations.
Yeah, like we have a little staycation.
We have a little staycation condo. We got a condo a long time ago, but I kept it to myself. And I furnished it, and that's my AZ's getaway place. So people always say, how do you and AZ handle so much? Well, we leave. We leave to our condo. That's our love nest right there, baby.
That's my bachelor pad right there. All right. Carla, we are back.
I'm excited.
With another episode of Do the Work podcast.
Here we are.
Of course, I am your host, AZ Araujo, along with my lovely...
I am Carla Araujo, along with your partner, Carla Araujo.
My lovely bride.
I'm not your bride.
We're in a honeymoon stage still. 22 years together.
22?
Yeah, I met you when you were a young age, a ripe age of 20 years old. Look at you.
Everything was up and running.
Everything
was cute.
Gravity hadn't
Gravity
didn't take its toll.
Everything was in the right place.
It was right place, right views, any light.
I know.
Any light. Like, just to get ready for this, I mean, we needed a bunch of different lights just to get this going.
Okay, we need to calm down.
I'm talking about me, though.
We need to calm down.
All right. Well,
I don't look that bad.
No, you look fantastic.
I appreciate that.
I tell you this all the time. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the...
Yeah, but let's be honest. But let's be honest. Gravity does take, and we do age.
Yeah.
And things happen, and attraction leaves, and stress comes in life, and we're not looking the same anymore. Let's be honest. And then what did you tell me when I was 19?
I don't know. What is it?
When I was 19 years old, and I will say this over and over again, never get comfortable.
Yeah.
And that was harsh. At 19, I was like, I'm still working with my self-esteem. I felt a little like...
you were naive. You were
I
like,
was.
no self-esteem.
I was like, this fool.
I know how to pick them.
But I got to tell you, the moment you told me that, not only was I was a little angry, but I held on to a little bit of resentment and anger. But at the same time, it helped me out. Because I was like, man, if I get comfortable, he's going to leave me.
That's right.
It helped me out. For years, I was like, that's fool going to leave me.
Now you're like, go ahead, leave me.
Yeah, now I'm like, I'm good. I'm confident. Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead and leave me.
No, but
I got myself hooked up.
I love it. But we have a very, very interesting topic. And, we are back with new episodes of Do the Work podcast by popular demand. We've been getting requests here for a long time about why we're coming back. Now, we have plenty of great episodes on Do the Work podcast. They are evergreen. That means... the principles we talk about and the challenges we face in our marriage, the challenges we face with our business and in life in general, like it's evergreen. I think it's things that we're always going to have to face. So please, I encourage you to watch the old episodes or listen to the old episodes. But we are coming back, and we're going to talk about where we're at. A lot of things have happened since the last time we were on here in the last 6 months to 8 months.
Yep.
And we're excited about this. We're coming in with
I miss it. I want to come back. There's a lot of people that are constantly asking us, when are you going to do another one? And discuss about life. We learn so much.
Do you have eyeliner on your lip? What's going on over here?
I have. Why? What's on my lip?
It's like black right here.
Are you going to call me out like that?
What is that?
You're going to call me out like
that?
that?
You got a blister or something?
No! I got my face done today.
Oh, okay. Oh, a little bruise right there. Okay.
How are you going to call what are you going to... Why would you do that?
It goes right in line with what we're talking about. We're talking about gravity taking its toll. So you got to plump things up.
Why are you... I can't believe you just did that right now.
It was bothering me. I thought you had eyeliner right here.
Are you going to tell me that on live?
But you look good.
I appreciate that, but that's harsh.
I'm sorry. If you would have told me, I would have never brought it up.
It's like in the middle of nowhere. Like, would you have a little black right here? In the middle of nowhere. Imagine if you have something in your teeth that's bothering me.
It was bothering. Okay. Anyway, the timing was probably off. But
speaking of gravity and taking care of yourself and keeping up, it's important. It's important, especially the way our lives are stressful.
Yeah.
And in order for me to feel beautiful and amazing, not only from the inside, I feel great from the inside, but the outside, I want to show up powerful. And so, there's little, some stuff that I do to myself to, make sure I keep up.
And I agree, and this stuff
so this is where that bruise is coming from, if you would like to know.
There's different types of processes, right? I think many men are like, well, you don't need to spend any money. You look beautiful just the way you are. And I'm not denying that by any means, but it really has to come down as how you feel. If you feel like you want to do a few things to make you feel better, then that's okay.
I always say that.
You have low self-esteem.
Oh, no. I always say that to women, too, in a lot of my training. I'm like, if you don't like it, change it.
If you don't like it,
don't
change it.
sit in the space of like, oh, I wish I had this. I wish I had bigger breasts. I wish I had my lips done. I wish I had my face done. My face is wrinkly. It's falling apart.
Carla, but that's wrong.
I need to lose weight. Exactly. You can't say that because it's too vain and you're really not confident about yourself. You know what I mean? It's like, no, if you are unhappy and you don't like it, change it.
I agree.
But don't sit there in the state of like, in this mindset of like, what can I do about it? I don't want to be judged. I don't want people to tell me anything. It's like, you don't like it, change it. It's not about anybody else. It's about you and how you're going to show up. So yeah, no, that is huge to me. But I get that all the time where women are just too embarrassed to talk about it. They don't want to talk to their husbands because their husbands will say this: you look great the way you are. Don't spend the money.
Yeah.
It's like, who do you look good to in their eyes? But how do you see yourself? Aside, of course, you feeling beautiful inside, but how do you see yourself? You don't like it, change it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm all about that. I mean, if whatever you want to do.
I don't think I've ever came to you and asked you for permission. Can I do this? I'm like, no. It's just like you saw a bruise on me. I'm not going to go and tell you what I get done.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any of your business.
All I know is like when you wake up in the morning, you're beautiful.
Yeah,
baby.
I appreciate that. Like I said, I don't think it's any of your business. You just need to worry about how I'm showing up.
Yeah, you're showing up really good.
Yeah.
But, you know, we are going to talk about, you know, libido and a sexual attraction in a relationship, you know. And I think, you know, having a very solid relationship goes hand in hand with, you know, being physically connected, the intimacy level, right? Mm-hmm. There are the reasons for divorce. A lot of it comes from finances, but they do come from intimacy issues as well, and that can wear big time on a marriage. I know for a while there, as we were going through our financial struggles, that was a big wedge within our marriage. It's like we weren't intimate, and if we were, it was just to get through the process, right?
Well, it's just because it's something you're supposed to do. It's not something that's enjoyable. It's like, okay, well, let's just do it. Right? It became a chore. It didn't become passion. It wasn't love. And of course, every relationship goes through the ups and downs, right? Yeah. But you and I, for a couple of years, it didn't go on for 6 months. It went on for quite some time that we were like, yeah, whatever. I think we slept on even the couch, two different bedrooms, guest bedroom. Just wasn't there.
It just like the honeymoon stage was definitely over, especially as we started facing these big financial issues, right?
Yep.
And just the stresses of marriage, giving up on our own goals and ambitions, trying to compromise. I think that's a word that's used too often. You got to compromise in a relationship. Well, the reality is, every time we compromised, we shut our individual selves down. Mm-hmm. And that's what was causing all these issues. We weren't going after the things we were passionate about, right? And that we were just trying to conform of what the other person wants from us, as opposed to really living our individual selves properly.
Exactly.
And you know, that brought us down a big, you know, the path of a big dark place.
And I think also our emotions were yo-yo, like it was like a yo-yo motion. Like you were going through ups and downs. I was going through. We were never in the middle.
Yeah.
I think for a very long time we were never in the middle, where we both agreed this is good.
Well, if you recall, if you think about this, and thank you for bringing that up. We did find ourselves in that place where we agreed when it seemed like alcohol was involved.
Oh, yeah. Alcohol, you and I got along great.
Oh, yeah.
For a long time.
At least for the first couple hours.
Yeah.
Then
if
it passed a certain threshold, then it was just like...
No, I don't think you and I were ever belligerent drunk. Like we got along. No, I don't think so. I can't recall. Honestly,
there was a couple moments where it just wasn't us in that place, right?
Okay, well, but I don't think it was bad. Yeah. I don't think it was like call 911 scenario.
No, nothing.
No, it wasn't bad. So that's kind of what I'm talking about.
It was dysfunctional.
It was dysfunctional, definitely dysfunctional. But I think when alcohol was involved, you and I got along great. Yeah. But I want to say this really quick. It was really, really funny. So the day you and I, fast forward, the day you and I were like, hey, let's go on a date without alcohol, I remember we were just staring at each other like we have nothing in common.
Yes, this was
we
a strange
were angry.
time.
It was strange. It was weird. It was awkward. It was awkward.
We were just completely disconnected because we just avoided learning about each other as we grew, right? We were 20 years old when we met, right?
19.
We were 25. You were 19. Yep. I was 20. And then it was 20, at that time, in our mid-30s, it's like we didn't realize who we were becoming during that time. I was still very much communicating with you and engaging with you as that 20-year-old that I met. I didn't realize, and I don't think we both realized we've matured. We've had different goals and ambitions during that time.
Yep.
And it was awkward. So when we didn't have alcohol, we were always bumping heads. So to go on a date with nothing there to really connect us,
it was
a wake up. It was a wake up call.
And I think you were
the
first one that said to me, You know, when you were, I think you were the one that took a step forward a little bit, working deeper within yourself. And I remember you said to me, we're at the restaurant, and you're like, no, I want to stare into your eyes. I want to talk to you. I'm like, no, because I was already so much built. You didn't realize I, you know, existed before in this marriage. That you wanted
this the entire time.
So why do you want this now? And I was angry. I was angry, definitely angry, because I wanted alcohol. I didn't like you without alcohol. I loved you in my 19, you know, when I was 19, younger, but you're right. When stress started taking, you know, we grew up. We purchased our home, finances started coming in. We were both angry. And it was just like, I just don't like you right now. I just don't without that alcohol. It was hard. Of course, I wouldn't want to, I want to throw us out. I don't think we were alcoholics or anything, but alcohol took a huge, it was definitely part of our lives.
It was a way we connected. And when we realized that was not the right channels, it was a dysfunctional pattern.
Right.
Is when we started making changes and we realized, holy, like where are we? We're in two completely worlds. No wonder we couldn't get along on so many things, on so many levels. But, you know, I think that's a different conversation for a different day where we dive into what we did in order to turn that around. But, you know, intimacy in our relationship, this starts suffering, right? We realize we're two different individuals. Of course, there's things that are going on the physical side. There's things going on the mindset wise. Right. So mentally, you were checked out. Checked out. And
physically,
for me,
you were there.
I was just physically there.
Because you were just a man.
Yeah.
That needed whatever.
Yeah. I needed to, you know, men need what they need.
Yeah.
Right? And you know what's crazy about men, at least in my situation, is when I didn't, I would grow very resentful towards you. Right. And there was the animosity.
Right.
And you were just like, okay, fine, kind of like let's just get
it over with, and I'm done.
It sucks. It's unfortunate because we met each other in a place of love and passion.
Oh yeah, it was. You and I were. Oh my gosh, we're the best of friends.
Yeah.
I had I mean, life has been amazing, freaking hilarious with you.
Yeah.
We are night and day, two different personalities. I mean, it was just cool. But yeah, when you know, tough times came along, we were like, wow, this is not the way, you know,
and it was
things should
unfortunate,
be.
right? Because we did care for each other, and here we are just.
I always say this. I'm surprised we've been together for 20 some years. Like, holy smokes.
Yeah, it's been a real challenge, but I think we had to go through those processes, right? Because, you know, life today together, like I can't imagine my life without you, right? It's like one of those things where I feel like we were meant to do something great together, right? But I'm glad we overcame a lot of those obstacles.
Well, they're seasons. They're kind of like seasons in our relationship. And if some people don't last long enough in that one season because they're like, it's just getting way too difficult, too stormy, you know, tornado in the relationship, and they step out. Yeah. And it's like, if you just stay put, obviously in no harm's way, you stay put, that season will pass.
But I think just staying put, I don't think that's necessarily all it takes, right?
No.
It requires desire.
Oh,
it requires action.
That's what I'm saying. Aside of all that, it's just a moment, a season, an emotion that can last a very long time. But you and I saw so much more in the relationship, you know, so we were like, we kind of stepped out, but to work on ourselves.
Yeah.
We didn't worry about filing for divorce. That was like the last thing on our minds.
Yeah, even though we weren't connected, it was just like, I think we just had so much more to worry about than a simple divorce, right?
Correct.
It was, we had to get our finances in order.
That was like the last thing on my mind,
Yeah, situation, and it became like a business partnership.
And exactly. And the last thing on my mind was to go look for, you know, something else. You know, exactly. It became a business partnership that worked out phenomenal, and we're great business partners. Yeah. There is no doubt about that. You and I are awesome. We blow stuff up. Yeah. But when it comes to our relationship, that was very, very hard because in the end, it was like, wow, I'm an alpha, and it's hard to work with an alpha, and we're bumping heads. But the moment you stepped aside, I stepped aside, we just blew stuff up. But the relationship, that became a challenge.
It did.
That became a challenge.
And, you know, we took the necessary steps, and we say this phrase often. It's like we had to end our old relationship. We had to end that. And it wasn't that we necessarily started working on our own relationship right away. We just had to stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
And the animosity we were growing to each other, the entitlements.
And not just stop the bleeding, AZ. We really had to dig deep. It wasn't like let's just put a Band-Aid on the cut. It was like, that's what we were doing for years, just put a Band-Aid on the cut. It was like, we really needed to stitch that up.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that we needed to put on the table. And I don't think that if we didn't have that friendship to begin with, there would have been no chance. No chance with us, because there was a lot of just heaviness to everything we had to discuss and everything we had to put on the table.
Yeah.
But it was something that needed to happen, and you really just focusing on yourself, and I started focusing on myself, and that's why we describe it as a business relationship, because it seemed like the only thing we had in common was the business at that time, but we were both just trying to find and discover and realize that it is not my responsibility to make you happy, and it's not your responsibility to make me happy.
No. You can never do that. You can never bring happiness to another person.
And it's funny how entitlement kind of took over, right? We were expecting others to just bend over backwards at every whim or at every situation we ran into, and that wasn't why we got married, right? And so learning that process or unlearning that process was a work in progress. And I would say
I married you because you're height. And then I realized that you really ain't that tall.
What's 6'2"? What are you talking about?
I now that I compare, like
I'm a lean one.
I was like I looked up and I'm like, man, this guy's tall. My kids are gonna be tall. Like this is good.
Like I said, I caught you when you were ripe. Young, dumb, and naive.
But now that I'm like, it's just height. It's just height.
I always say that. Right? I got you early. Young, dumb, and naive. Now you're this woman.
You trapped me.
I trapped you, dude. That's when you got to get them.
I do got your name on my butt cheek.
Yeah,
that's me. I'm done.
You're branded. You're branded for life.
It's so wrong. That is so wrong on so many levels.
But I'm gonna take it
because I think that's sexy.
You gotta know.
I think that's sexy. Having your name on me, I think it's sexy. It's only 4 letters. Anything goes wrong, just remove 4 letters.
Yep,
it's not a big deal.
That's how I roll. I like to mark my.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm attracted to you. The man.
That man.
The man right there. But for many years, that wasn't the case. I got a little punk.
I was showing up weak. I was like a little bitch.
But
those are the realities, dude. But seriously, so yesterday we had Dr. Boyd here, and that'll also be on our podcast, I believe.
And I gotta tell you, I was nervous. I was nervous. I don't know if you noticed that.
I think it's not every day that you get on live for no reason and talk about sex.
Well, I'm this person. You asked me to do something, like, yeah, okay. I won't think about it. Yeah. So it wasn't like something we processed and planned out. Yeah. It was just we naturally went on and started talking about sex and the 4 factors of the libido. And it was like, okay. But I was a little nervous because I was like, that's not what we're used to of talking about sex so openly.
This is definitely not going on Instagram because our daughter's on Instagram.
Oh,
but on Facebook.
But when they get Facebook, they're ready to watch this.
Yeah, they'll be old enough to understand that mom and dad are getting it on. Mom and dad.
And they'll know why we're always taking vacations.
Yeah, like we have a little staycation.
We have a little staycation condo. We got a condo a long time ago, but I kept it to myself. And I furnished it, and that's my AZ's getaway place. Our little... So people always say, how do you and AZ handle so much? Well, we leave. We leave to our condo. It's our love nest right there, baby.
That's my bachelor pad right there.
That's always the same. Pad.
It's always the same one, but we're different. We're different outside the household, right? And I think that really has fired our marriage up. Really,
it brought us back together.
Yeah, it really did. Just to have, it's fun. It's me and you. Yeah. For us to be connected gives our the ability to be better parents, better business people, because we're not worried about the dramas, about the conflicts, about the dysfunction that we used to process. And it's tough. Like I'll tell you, working together, being together, raising a family together, growing a business, multiple businesses together. It's no small task, but I think we've figured it out.
Yep.
And those are some of the things that we are going to be sharing with you small business owners that are husband and wife teams or have your wife involved in the business. It's a different game altogether, right?
It is.
Just having one spouse run a business and the other one, have other responsibilities is very different than having both of you at the same place at the same time.
I was just going to say that, it is different when you have a spouse. We get along great because your spouse is doing one thing, and mainly the woman is always like the back end handling things, and the man's in the forefront. When you have a husband and wife that's actually both on the forefront, both in the back end, it becomes crazy.
It becomes
because
crazy.
We're literally, you and I are 100% involved.
All in. Oh yeah.
All in all our businesses. 100% from the finances to the to the marketing to the all aspects
every
of every
hat
systems, we wear, and it's hard, and it really is.
But it took a lot of trial and error, and not to say that we're free from issues, but they're very infrequent. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, they are.
The more in line we are with the end result, like the more focused we are on that end result,
and I think
it seems like we both just know how to navigate.
I think it's because we've given the respect, the fact that we're both business owners. Yeah. It was like, I don't work for you, you don't work for me. We have that mutual respect. We meet and we gather like 2 business owners. It's not husband and wife talking.
Yeah.
And we don't take anything to offensive or, so we get along really, really well when it comes to the business aspect, but it wasn't always like that.
No, it wasn't like that. And like I said, we do have our challenges sometimes, but I can't remember the last time we had.
The last time we had one, yeah.
And it's insane.
Yeah, because
and that's such growth.
The same result. And we're like, dude, we're going after the exact same thing.
Why be enemies on this, right?
Why be enemies, exactly.
And, those are some of the topics that we're going to be doing as we ramp up our Do the Work podcast once again, because I think it's important. I know there's a lot of husband and wife teams, or even family relatives working within the business. I think it'll relate to everything about how to be able to stay focused on the task, how to be able to respect and appreciate each other, as opposed to feeling entitled that they should be doing certain things when in fact that's not what was discussed to begin with. But again, we're going to go back on topic. We have so much, Carla. It's been a few months that we're excited.
But it's okay. We're going to come back.
But if you have any topics that you would like us to discuss, if you're in business or with your spouse, and you can feel free to write it down here or send us a message privately.
I do. I was going to say, I get a lot of private messages. How do you handle this X, Y, and Z kind of deal? Please continue doing that, because I will definitely start to bring those topics to the,
we'll take it to the forefront.
Yeah, exactly.
And today, again, it's about, the connection. And Dr. Boyd, he mentioned that there's four main reasons. Four factors of why, the intimacy may not be there in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And he mentioned the first one, and he named it BOD, which is for body issues, right? And it can be, after years, like we talked about and joked about earlier, gravity takes its toll, right? But what also takes its toll is the bad decisions we make in our 20s, our 30s, right?
And that's why I mentioned that. That's why when you said to me at the time, you can say that out loud, and some people are like, oh my gosh, that's harsh. And I think I just mentioned this to somebody, my sister-in-law, I think it was like, your brother is hardcore. He is hardcore, and he's very straightforward when he tells me something. If he dislikes something, or if I'm falling off a little bit, I love it. I don't take that in offensive anymore, because I was so happy. And as much as people say this is just wrong, I'm so happy that you told me when I was 19, never get comfortable, because it literally stuck with me. And I'm so grateful for that friendship of yours, because at the time it was you're my best friend, and you were like, don't get comfortable. We weren't even boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. No. It was like, I'm like, wow, that's huge to me, because who would have known 20 years later I was going to appreciate that moment of never get comfortable, because I never did. Mm-hmm. I never did. I've always, chugged along, trying to work on myself.
And getting comfortable, I think, is the main issue, right?
Right.
I mean, because
that's what happens.
There's a physical attraction, and we brought this up yesterday. There's always a physical attraction, but yet that seems to go out the window when people get comfortable in a marriage, right? And it's real easy to gain the weight, not necessarily care how what you do in front of your spouse.
And I used to get this all the time, where it's cheaper not to take care of yourself than, once you start eating healthy, it becomes expensive, it becomes financial. It's like, well, we were in the moment at the time, we can't take care of ourselves. But now we have a little bit more money, so let's take care of ourselves now. You and I are very, very young. We've got our first house in our 22, 23. We're very, very young. We always found ways to take care of ourselves. Yeah. Always found ways. So there's always those excuses like, there is no time. We're too busy. We're not financially set. It's like, no, there is always ways to take care of yourself.
I think, that's just an excuse. At the end of the day, it's just getting comfortable.
Yeah.
Because there was a time where I just stopped working out as well, like myself, and I just got a little comfortable. And it happens, because, the stresses of life with kids and business is you put that kind of stuff in the back burner, but that's what keeps you first energetically there to be able to perform the way you're supposed to in all facets of your life. In the relationship, as a parent, in your business, but yet we let that go. And, you lose, losing confidence, right?
You lose confidence in your relationship. You lose confidence in anything you do. And just in life, you just lose that confidence. And you start to gain weight. You start to feel, you're, like I said, you don't invest in yourself, and you're outer shell of it, and it just starts to fall apart.
And in general, the age just does something to you. Yep. Hormones get out of whack. For men and women, maybe there's medications that we have to take, maybe a surgery, pregnancies.
The pregnancies, you get really comfortable in your pregnancies. When you're pregnant, you're just like, well, I'm pregnant, I'm not going to put that much work in. It's like, that's when you should be putting on more work. But of course, we're all used to the people saying,
you eat for two.
You're eating for two, or even if you're eating just for one, you should still relax. You should still just chill. You don't have to put so much work into yourself. It's like, no, that's when you should be putting, because after you're done, your hormones really take over. Yeah, the consequences are after the baby, towards 7-8 months. You're like, oh shit, what am I feeling? The baby's here. You're left home alone. Your husband only stays there for so long because they have to be out and about. and you're sitting there with the baby and you're looking yourself in the mirror and you're like, where did I go wrong? And although we all love our children. I love my children. I mean, there's nothing about that's not what I'm saying. But mentally, your hormones take over, and there isn't really anything you can do about it.
Yeah, and then when you start feeling in that place, it doesn't leave it open for intimacy.
No.
So I remember coming home because you had to stay home for a while with our daughters, and you were like, dude, like, I'm like, what do you want?
Yeah,
like, I'm here, trying to get
and
my groove on.
This was like 6-8 months later, almost a year.
No, it was.
Almost
a
year. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable in my body. And although I look great, I didn't know that back then. Because again, our mindsets are completely different, honestly. Yeah. And so it was just like, man, if I would have known what I know now, I wouldn't, but I looked great during my pregnancies. I took care of myself, both of them. I looked phenomenal, but it was my hormones that were taking over that were like, what do you want from me,
and I guess there's always that crossroad where you can continue to feel this way about yourself, or you could do something about it.
Right.
And I think it's easier just to complain about it and not do anything about it because, again, we're married. They're still going to stick around through thick and thin, right? It's till death do us part time thing that we're not so inclined to go out there and really start making those changes. And that's the unfortunate part. Like, I notice this at the gym all the time. Like, I really, because you're always in our personal gym, I've had to go to a different gym. And one thing that I've noticed is that there's a big segment of the population that's missing in the gym. You see all these teenagers and people in their 20s, and then you see people like in their late 50s and 60s. But there's this demographic that's completely gone from the gym, which is 30s and 40s. 30s and 40s, they're completely gone. Why? Because that's when they're playing house. That's when they're playing responsibility and career and kids. And that's like the most important time. The kids in their 20s, they're looking to look physically good. At least that's why we were there. But in their 50s and 60s, they're actually looking because there's some health issues that they need to take care of. And that's the whole process of having those issues, is that there's some complacency that has set in our 30s and 40s. And you'll notice that every time you go to the gym. But body issues, a great point that Dr. Boyd said. And what was the second one?
Bod and mind.
Mind issues, the stress.
Bod and mind, stress, to-do list, sexual anxiety, performance anxiety, getting stuck in your own head, mental attraction. And that was
stress.
Yeah, stress.
Stress, and also, what are we leaving on the table? So, your body's going one way, so that also means your mind's going the other way as well. And they're in alignment. Your mind is in alignment with your body. If you don't feel it in your mind, you're not going to feel it in your body. It just never happens that way. And again, the stress, and if there's no way to alleviate that, and that's why we say you got to really physically take care of yourself. So eat the right quality foods, right? In a world of so much junk, it's like the quality foods will open up a new paradigm.
That one's huge to me. The reason for that being is because I used to always come home really, really stressed.
Yeah.
And your personality is just very I like to say very laid back, where obviously the woman takes on more stress, I believe, because not only are we, especially,
as a mother and as a head of the household.
I'm 100% in my business, so I'm constantly working not just one, but two.
Yeah.
And I'm always on there. And then I have to come home as a mom. I have to come home as a wife. Plus, I have to come home to myself because I still have to take care of myself. So I always tell you, looking this way is not easy. I'm always having to take care of me, take care of you, because you're not like a husband that comes home and puts his shoes in the closet. You're very needy. I like to say that. Very needy. So it's attending to you, to the kids, to the business. You come home, it's business and home. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Until I could become your mom and say, throw the trash out. So all those things, to me, I'm like very stressed out. So if you come home very chill and I'm like still having to work, coming home, it's a job in itself to be a mom and a wife and a cook sometimes, but coming home and then you cuddling up to me, I'm like, I need you to back off. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. Don't touch me. Get away from me, kind of deal, right? So what I've noticed is over the years, and I've been asked this question, by the way, message, how do you deal with that? I hire people.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I actually cooked a meal where I'm cutting something up. So there's always people around me that are huge supporters, and I hire people to work for me that do certain things for me. I don't do much, only because I started to realize that I'm more important. So when I have,
trying to save.
I'm not trying to save money. I'm actually, I make good where people around me are, like I said, I hire people to do things.
Yeah, and that's not to say it in a way, we don't want to come off as this arrogant.
Not
right?
at all.
Because,
not at all. What
listen,
I'm trying to tell you is, it's kind of like this. When when women are trying to save money by saying, I'm going to work from home. I don't want my kids to go to daycare because I'm trying to save money. But at the end of the day, and that's okay for those who do that if that's what you want to do, but I'm not that person. I started to realize that in order for me to rise in my business, I need to also rise in my personal life, and meaning that I need to hire people to do certain things for me, because if not, I'm going to really sabotage my marriage.
Yeah.
My marriage is falling apart. The relationship with my kids are falling apart. So the least things I can do, the more I have time for my family, the more I'm actually having time for myself so I can rise up a little higher, right? So it's like, how do you do it? Well, I have to take care of me first and foremost to do everything else.
Yeah, it's kind of like the wife that's tired of being at home, all right? And we've heard this story. I'm not trying to bucket anybody, and I'm just gonna speak out the way it's intended, and if it's misinterpreted,
of course, because this isn't meant for everyone.
If misinterpreted, then that's okay. But it's kind of like those wives that are tired of that, and then they suggest, hey, how about I get a full-time job? And the husband comes, why would you do that? Your whole paycheck is essentially going to go to the babysitter. Right. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because now it's the more you're in a place where you don't want to be, you lose confidence, you lose certainty on who you are and what you want to become. And that's why some women after years are completely lost.
Right.
After raising their kids, or they go off to school, they're either going to have another child to keep them preoccupied, or they're going or they're going to be lost completely. And it happens so often, and I'm not trying to generalize everyone, but there are instances like that where if you want to go, like, it's okay to create a little bit of space of the kids you love, but it's more than anything, it's your own sanity and your own certainty of what you're going to do after the kids are gone.
Right.
And but I don't know how we got in that little bit of a...
No, we just started talking about the stress. I think that was huge to me. Okay. Huge. We're talking about, being intimate and having the desire for your husband or your spouse, whatever.
Good.
But stress was huge to me. Stress really held me back to making, passion of love to you and having a little bit of time, because it would be like...
I need mine,
I think Boyd said yesterday, how many times is it a year?
I don't know, like
it 10. Was 10 a year or something. Yeah, it was like where people are intimate, like it was very low, right?
Yeah, I think that was considered on the low side, though.
Yeah, okay. So going back on that subject, though, it was like I don't have time for that, and I want to make sure that you and I are both in it together, without me feeling like, okay, this is just a job. You know what I mean? Another to-do list. No. I had to change things up. So that was huge to me. Now moving on to the next, though.
Okay, so that we just covered the mind issues, the body issues. But now, through age and through, again, rod, which
right?
is it's actually like, he said, a penile or clitoral problems aware that sabotage sex. So it's
that
more
is definitely an age thing.
A package thing.
Yep.
And, we're not living in mom's age anymore.
No.
There's ways to be able to get checked out to see if you're running optimally.
Yep.
And I think it's important. We don't have to age the way our parents did or our grandparents did.
I agree. Yep.
We can use today's knowledge and technology to really put us in a place of power. And the only way to do that is to really go to the professionals that can check out your blood. Are your hormones in line? Are you running optimally? Is there something that a problem?
I always say this, and I brought this up with Boyd.
A sickness, right? Sickness that's coming up,
I get
or a
checked on everything from blood work to my everything every 5 years. I just do. I've always been accustomed to that. I'm like 5 years, because I believe every 3 to 5 years we constantly change. Taste buds and everything change.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I go all in, from dermatologist to check every mole on my body to everything every 5 years. I am committed to that since in my 20s.
Well, what else? I mean, what else are we going to do? Like continue to buy the materialistic things, or buy into the only life we have?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's why we're able to move at such a fast pace what we're doing, because we are in a power position because of what we do in order to take care of ourselves first and foremost.
Yep.
It comes, the first thing we do every morning, right, is we take care of ourselves so we can take care of everything else that comes with life. And, with that is, again, we don't have to live under the frameworks or the taboos or the opinions of what it is to live an optimal life. Getting your blood checked, going with the right doctors, getting your hormones checked, making sure that there's no pre-existing conditions, doing things that'll put you in that place. I think it's a responsibility.
Right.
Anything less is just a complete irresponsibility. But for us, it's like going to Dr. Boyd and making sure that we're in line with everything was huge. And if you're looking for something like that, I know we're plugging them in, but it's made
we're plugging them in. We're plugging them in because David Boyd has been part of our lives in such a great, awesome way.
What's that?
So,
what's going on?
What happened?
David Boyd
Oh, okay. Yeah, and he's actually on there. Yeah, go ahead and speak up, man. You're not interrupting anything.
No, 10. He says 10 is sexless. 10.
10 is sexless. 10 is sexless.
Yes, that's a very low
number.
I was like, whoa, low number. Yes.
So with Dr. Boyd, and I'm glad he's on there. He's been part of our process to be able to make sure that we're running that optimal life.
Correct.
I went through his Blind Spot Elite program where we're checking every organ, we're checking blood work, everything going on with my body, right? Because it's got to be a mental game. So if I know I'm good internally, externally, I'm going to go out and kill it.
No, and when you did, I just went ahead and made my appointment with him, and I'm like, hey, I need to go all in too.
Because you saw the shift in my mind, right?
Yeah, no, I did. And I immediately, I think a couple of months later, I don't know what it was, I ended up doing the exact same thing. Yeah. So, and again, I already do it, but not to that. I did it to that. It's from MRI to,
CAT scans,
CT scan,
the
whole shebang.
And the blood work. The blood work was so important. And, if you go to Blind Spot Medical, you can learn more about Dr. David Boyd and his programs. But a lot of this with men and some women, there's just a lot of embarrassment, right? Having to sit, going to a doctor's office, having to talk to the nurse of what's going on, what you're feeling.
Well, I'm telling you, even
having to talk to the receptionist.
It's just not something you talk about, AZ. So it's just, I think, I don't know, if maybe for men, but it's not something you talk about because you never want to feel like you're at that point.
Yeah.
You never really,
never want to avoid feeling old. And it's like,
right.
Dude,
everybody
gravity,
everything takes takes its toll. So
getting your hormones in line, getting your blood work in line, getting your diet in line, it really puts you in a position to be in that prime state for many, many years. I feel like I'm in my absolute prime.
Well, I did tell you, right, when I came out from Boyd and he was like giving me my age and my biological age and everything. I go straight to the gym and I'm like, holy smokes. It was all in my head. So
but that's an important part because again the body's tied to the mind.
It goes to the mind
and body and that's what it is. So again, rod, penile, maybe it could be just health issues in general. It could be thyroid issues. It could be so many things.
You don't know until you get checked out.
Yeah, so get checked out and make sure you're in line. We recommend Dr. David Boyd. And the next one is WAD. I know that's why you married me, Carla.
As in WAD and cash or lack thereof, he says. He wrote, money is one of the largest stressors in a relationship. Lack thereof can cause a massive disconnect.
I know that's why you fell in love with me. I was rolling, in
I didn't fall in love with you. You were broke. You were broke just as I was.
I was rolling in my Nissan Altima with the donuts when I first met you.
You did have that donut. You had that donut when you picked me up at my apartment.
I had that donut for about 2 months.
And I want to put this out there.
To buy another time.
I want to put this out there, Mama Boy. I want to put this out there.
Mama Boy?
Yeah, Mama Boy. You lived with your parents. I had my own apartment. Yeah, you lived with your parents.
Did I?
Yes, you lived with your parents with that donut and that little Nissan Altima. I had my own apartment. I was working overtime to pay my little apartment. I had my own little truck, my own insurance, and then here comes you. See that? So you're straight up. Who called me up on my bruise, little Mama Boy?
All right.
I had to pay for that. I have proof. I actually still talk to my old boss. I have proof. I worked my butt off. That's right, Mama Boy. And who's the one that took me on vacations?
Who?
Who's the one that took
you took me
just so we can put this out there.
All right.
AZ had 2 weeks on vacation. He used to work for UPS. I used to work overtime. I would surprise them with huge baskets. I would surprise them to Las Vegas trips, to Cancun trips. Remember all those trips I surprised? So I worked my butt off to take AZ. And exactly, you were still living with your parents. So I want to throw that out there. That's another time for another podcast. I want to throw that out there. But on that note, I have to tell you, fast forward. Yes, money was a huge stress.
No, it was.
Huge stress in our lives.
Yeah, especially, as we got married. I mean, we got into a house pretty quickly.
I can't even remember being in love with you in that house because all we were worried about was paying the bills. Yeah, paying the bills and getting ahead and it was tough. Our marriage was tough.
Like we were facing the issue with money on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
It was not only trying to get our marriage up and running, our lives together, but also the missteps that we took or the wrong decisions we made that caused us to really go down that path of having to face those issues again over and over and over again.
Right.
So there was always that disconnect. And every time, it's not like we've always been connected. There was many times months at a time that we just weren't connected whatsoever.
No.
But I think, money is always going to be an issue. And it's this mindset and this relationship with money that it doesn't have to come and it doesn't have to disappear. It doesn't have to disappear. There's ways to be able to build on it, right?
Yes.
And I think once we got to know that, it hasn't become an issue for us. And it's because I realized that money is just a byproduct of the people we become. And we've grown to tremendous, great businesses, and it's not what it was before. But that does cause a lot of issues.
It does, and I think the busier we became, I think the more, and now that we know what we know, with this new facility coming up, it's so much, our lives are just busier than ever. But I'm having a blast. I'm having a blast through the process, because I think what we've done in the last couple of years is spend more time with each other more than ever.
Yeah.
And we're in a happy place. We've allowed ourselves to be ourselves,
yeah.
Without that argument. We've allowed our time away from business and home, and we've, created our little love nest. And you and I go to, the hotels and stay over the weekend and have, a blast. I think we're enjoying life more than ever because we've been busier.
Yeah.
And I guess the busier we become, the more we spend more time with each other.
Yeah. And I think we learn to prioritize that, we're building something great together. And that takes some time. It's not like you're just going to step into that type of relationship overnight. It just takes steps in the right direction. And over time, it will come back and you'll get reconnected if that's where the path is supposed to take you. Or maybe the decision is I'm out of the relationship. But I think it's this place of not knowing what you want or relying on the next person to make that decision, that there's a lot of mediocrity that
right.
ensues, a lot of time wasted, and it goes nowhere. In fact, it just starts going more and more south. So
yeah.
Now we're on the same page. We know it's an attraction. We know it's a responsibility for each other to take care of themselves. And I'm not saying it's all based on a physical attraction, but I think it plays a major role.
I think it's huge.
Yeah, because what's the first thing that happens when a divorce ensues?
Yeah, they start to work on themselves.
They start working out.
They start to losing weight. They start getting a little pretty.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you do that in the first couple of years you were married, or in the 20 years you got married?
And that's the truth. I mean,
and at the end of the day, you said something like, I don't want to offend anyone. It's like, this podcast isn't meant for everybody. And if you're offended, well, there's certain things that you can capture that may, fit for you, and others that you're like, AZ and Carla are totally wrong that they say that.
And it's okay.
And it's okay. This is our lives. And I don't think we're pointing any fingers to anyone in general. We're just, this is our lives, and this is how we chose them.
Just interpret it. And that's
so
the
please do
part
not look at this as, they're talking to me, because by all means, we are talking about our lives.
Yeah.
So.
But these are great points. And again, we went over the different things that may cause, intimacy issues. And I think we've been through every single one of these, and to look back and to see it summarized in such a clear way, we now understand why we have such a great connection today.
Right.
And for me, it's fun. It's fun. I look forward to our time together.
And I want to say this: we have improved in these areas, but we still go through body issues, mind, rod, and wad. We still go through every single one of these, except we approach it differently. Yeah. So just,
So here we got Dr. David Boyd with us. We got Jason Rhodes. That's hilarious.
Jen and I have a condo as well, Love Pad.
Love Pad.
It's a game changer.
It is a game changer. I mean, we've been in a very fortunate position to be able to do that, and I love it. It's a great investment. It just sits there most of the time, but it's there when we need it, right? Let's see here. We got David. He said, AZ said it brilliantly. We don't have to age the way our parents did. Absolutely true, especially with today's technology. So again, we have to try to stay in our prime as long as we can. And when you're in your 30s and 40s, you're just getting started. Like some of these people act like they're too old to do anything, and that's just the mindset aspect of it. And it's getting your diet right, getting getting the right checkups, and being around the right people that will really start changing that. And finally, so honored that to take care of you both. You guys are amazing. We're honored as well, Dr. Boyd and Carla. I think this was a great little re-intro to a series that's coming your way. And again, if you have questions regarding marriage, life, and business in general, right? From Carla and I, we're more than happy to bring those subjects on our next podcast.
Please just message us, and we'll definitely bring our lives to the table.
No, this was fun, Carla. I think we need to stay on this. And
I think it's huge. I think it actually is bigger than we think. But I think, again, people are just embarrassed to talk about it and bring it to the forefront. But I think it's huge.
And we're going to have a killer connection weekend
Yeah, we are.
Starting tomorrow.
Yes. We have a whole entire week, just you and I.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
We'll still be available. So those who are watching. But yes.
In between sessions.
We have great plans for ourselves in the next week. But no, we're super excited. Somebody came in. You guys are awesome. Speak your truth. Thank you, Jason.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Do the Work Podcast. And until next time, we'll talk to you.
Bye.
Soon. Bye now. Yeah.